Hi everyone, and welcome to the Publishing Performance Show. Today I'm delighted to be joined by Aurora Winter, who is the founder of SamePage Publishing. So thank you for joining the show, Aurora.
It's great to be on the show with you, Teddy, and my hope is to add so much value to the listeners that they can turn their words into wealth.
No problem. So that's your book. I'm holding it up, but for people who are listening, I've got your book here, Turn Words into Wealth, and I've read through it. It's awesome. It's a really comprehensive guide into basically what you just said, turning words into wealth. So the beginning, going all the way from like writing your very first book and how you can turn that into a bit of a wider business. So I loved it. I loved reading the book. So thank you for sending it over to me.
Oh, I'm glad that you liked it, Teddy.
Yeah. So what's your background and what was the reason why you wrote this book in the first place?
Well, my background is as a film and television executive producer, and I'm an award-winning screenwriter. I've loved writing since I was 9. And the reason I wrote Turn Words into Wealth is because more and more my clients and friends were writing books. And then my heart was just torn up because time and time again, they would drop the ball right at the finish line. On average, first-time authors spend 3.5 years writing their book.
Wow. But
most people just kind of rush through the last stages, and it's like icing on a cake. But the icing on the cake and the happy birthday and the birthday candles, that really makes it. If you want your book to be like a gift for the listener, and if you want the book to be a gift to your bank account. So the things that most people forget to do is think about if your book is an appetizer, if your book is meeting somebody at a networking party, what's the next step? If your book is an appetizer, what's the full meal? How could you add more value? What's the next problem that they're going to have immediately after they've gotten all the value from your book? And how can you let them know about that in your book? So in the book, Turn Words into Wealth, there are 7 different blueprints for creating 7 figures with your book. Don't get overly attached to 7 figures. It could be 8 figures, it could be 9 figures, it could be 5 figures, it could be 6 figures, but 10x whatever you are making now by using your book effectively.
Perfect. And so what are those blueprints? Let's go through them. So the first one you've got talking about attracting clients in the first place. So let's go through some of those blueprints.
Yeah, so let's go through some of those blueprints. Well, one of the blueprints is actually in this book, a little book called Marketing Fast Track, the little book that launched a new business. By the way, people can get the ebook of Marketing Fast Track, and they can get the ebook of Turn Words into Wealth absolutely for free at turnwordsintowealth.com. But what my experience was, and the little book Marketing Fast Track is an example of, if you want to launch a new business or you want to pivot from your existing consulting business, coaching business, service business as a dentist or whatever you do, why not do a quick little test and see if the market is interested? So I was known as a coach trainer. My small email list, it was 12,000 at that time, knew me as a coach trainer, but more and more people were asking me for help with their marketing and their messaging and writing a book and how could they do that. So I wanted to see if it was just a couple of random people asking me or if there was actually demand. So I was interviewed by the coach at Tony Robbins, who was in charge of training the Tony Robbins coaches. And I asked him if he'd interview me about marketing and messaging instead of about coach training. And he's like, absolutely. I know that you're a successful entrepreneur. And so obviously I choreographed the interview. I gave him the questions to ask me. I had my answers ready. And then I liked the interview. I transcribed it and I turned it into a book basically in the weekend. Then I offered that little book, Marketing Fast Track, to my email list and then followed it up with a series of 5 videos that added more value around what is marketing, what is messaging, what about this book thing anyway, and how could I do that? And then after people received more value with the 5 videos, the email offered, hey, if you'd like more, you'd like to have a business breakthrough call with Aurora or somebody on her team, it's free to sign up here at bookcall.biz. And the result of that was that little book, Marketing Fast Track, based on a 1-hour interview, generated $250,000 of new business in 90 days.
Wow.
So that's an example of using just a short book as a lead magnet and then following it up with videos and adding more value and then having an irresistible offer. And it's got to be more than a $20 offer. Obviously, if you're going to speak to people one-on-one, I recommend that your offer is at least $2,000 or the numbers don't work out with your time. But that would be an example of a little short book just to test the market and see if you should offer that new product or service or start that new business or what have you. And then later I turned the basic ideas, into a much bigger book, Turn Words into Wealth. But you don't have to start with that mammoth book that answers all the questions you could possibly answer. You could just do a little test book. And in fact, on Amazon, there's a category for books under 100 pages, and you could fall into that category. Now, most people might delete that book after they have the big one. And I was tempted to do that, but I'm like, no, I want to leave it up as an example of what a little short book that was made from a 1-hour interview could look like. And it even at the back of the book has examples of the emails that I sent out. So it's there for you to model.
Yeah, of course. So what's really interesting, one of the reasons I wanted to speak to you in the first place was when the sort of clients you're talking about a lot are quite similar to the sort of people who I speak to on this podcast. Now, a lot of people have maybe got a book already, especially a non-fiction book, and it started to do quite well. So your book's really about trying to expand that topic they've been talking about and build it into a much wider business. So what are the sorts of people that you see trying to do that? What sort of businesses are they that you see trying to build that more advanced business from their book?
Well, another one of the 7 keys to making 7 figures with your book is speaking.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people are aware that speaking is the highest paid profession. But in order to become a public speaker of any, great stature, you really do need at least one book. So that would be a common example. And I think most leaders, experts, and entrepreneurs may also have the capacity of being speakers, whether it's speaking on a podcast like this amazing podcast that you've got, Teddy, or speaking on a TED stage, or speaking, to audiences of thousands. That is a really great thing to do. So a lot of my clients, come to me, they're not clear in their message, they're not clear what their book is about, but they have clarity in their heart that they'd like to make a bigger difference, they'd like to have a bigger impact, and they'd like to have a bigger income. And so a book is one of the ways to do that. So I highly recommend, for example, Hillary Clinton's speaking fee is $250,000. So just one speaking fee could make your book a lot of money. But if you don't mention in your book, if you don't mention in your author bio that you're a speaker, or you don't give stories about this talk that you gave, recently at the Rotary Club, then the person will end up finishing your book going, that was a great book. And then they'll read the next book tomorrow and they'll forget about you. But if you put, a little stories about a couple of times that you spoke, and it doesn't have to be the hugest talk. You could have made a difference speaking at the Rotary Club or at the Chamber of Commerce. And then if you just add to your author's bio that you're a popular speaker and how to contact you, that can make a big difference. The other thing I'd love to leave people with or let people know is you don't have to withhold any information from your book in order for it to bring you business. In fact, I would recommend the more you tell, the more you sell. So I've found, surprisingly, the more that you give, people want the same information, but delivered in a different way. So for example, if your book is, Turn Words into Wealth, like this one, then I've personally hosted events around the world where people come and they practice their $1 million message. They first figure out what is their $1 million message, and then they get to practice it in front of a live audience. And some people have gone from doing that at one of my events. One person went 3 weeks later, Diane Burton gave her TEDx talk, and that's been part of her marketing ever since. Another person went to speak at a conference with thousands of people and secured a deal with Intel. So, but what is it for you? So people may want the same information delivered as a weekly Zoom call with a small group of people. My clients want kind of the same information, but delivered in a VIP method with coaching with me one-on-one. You may have, remote events. You may have automatically delivered content if you've got a lower price point with videos and training. So to think through what else can you offer so that people can get more value. An example of that would be Marie Kondo. She's got these wonderful books about the joy of tidying up. I don't know if you've read them, Teddy.
I have. I think she's actually rejected her own message now, though, hasn't she? She's started saying, I'm not going to tidy anymore. I'm going to go back to being messy again.
Oh, I didn't hear that. I have to check on that.
Yeah.
But she's an interesting example. She shows two of the different ways of monetizing your message. Even though she's Japanese and doesn't speak English very well, Netflix did a TV series with her. So that's another way to make 6, 7 figures or 8 figures with your message. And I have a fantasy book called Magic, Mystery, and the Multiverse. BBC has expressed interest in doing a half-hour TV series. So that's an example of that, or Marie Kondo is an example. Or another example of how to have $1 million message that makes actually $1 million without selling a single book is to have a training program. So Marie Kondo is an example of that as well. These figures may be slightly wrong, but as memory serves me, I think it's something like $2,000 to become a Marie Kondo certified Joy of Tidying Up coach. And then it's about $500 a year, or was the last time I checked, to maintain that membership. Well, it doesn't take many people enrolled in that, especially with the ongoing plan, to make 7 figures. So, but many people have some kind of knowledge that could be packaged, and other people can either benefit from it and then just take it away, or at the next level is train the trainer.
Yeah. No, nice. Now, could you have any case studies or examples of people you've worked with where they've got that message like down and they've been able to turn it into a wider business?
Oh, absolutely. So I helped some dentists actually write a book about dentistry. They were already amazing dentists. Janice and Justine Doan are their names, and they've got A+ dentistry in the San Diego, California, Los Angeles, California, USA area. And they were expert dentists, but they were marketing the way that most dentists market, which is, the free exam and et cetera. Yeah. And they were attracting, young people or people who were on a very tight budget who would come in for the free exam and then maybe spend $200. So the average lifetime value of that customer was $200. Or on the other hand, although they were not marketing for this person, somebody could come in who's in their 40s or 50s or 60s who needed extensive work done. And the average value of that person could be $4,000 that year, or maybe $40,000 over the life of the patient. So working with them to understand their business, I have an MBA and I've launched multiple businesses. So working strategically, we decided to write a book about the keys to a healthy smile after 40. So by positioning them as the go-to experts for smiles after 40, they attracted those kind of people. Now, they give their book away. It's not particularly well selling on Amazon, but they give their book away, and it's a great lead magnet. And it makes it easy for happy patients to say, hey, these are my dentists. Here's their book. Maybe you want to go see them, right? So it has increased their referral rate, and it's 10x'd the value of the average patient that they're attracting. And also they've now set themselves apart. Even though English was not their first language, they're actually pretty good at English, but it's not their first language. They became paid public speakers and were hosted on various podcasts. So, and then there are 40 under 40, honored as 40 under 40 dentists in the United States. And they were greeted as celebrities amongst their peers of other dentists because they had a book and they were asked to, autograph their book, and that made them feel very special. So that's another one of the 7 different ways that I've listed in Turn Words into Wealth. And each one has examples from myself or from my clients or from other people so that you can really see how to do it. So the dentist example I just gave you is an example of using a book to attract premium clients. They don't turn away anybody, but by positioning themselves as the go-to expert, and with the title of their book being Keys to a Healthy Smile Over 40, How to Look and Feel 10 Years Younger, they're getting those 40, 50, and 60-year-old clients who are spending $10,000 to $40,000 instead of $200. So that it changes the whole return on their investment.
Yeah. A lot of people I speak to who are writing books, they always, especially if they're writing their first book, they often tend to make their book quite broad. But it sounds like what you're saying is that by making it more niche, you can actually start finding your target audience. Like in your example, going for the people over 40, you're really finding your target audience rather than just saying, I'm a dentist.
Exactly. So I really advise don't go broad, go narrow. And when you're starting a business or even considering your book, or when you're thinking through how can I add more value? How can I make a bigger difference? What other problems can I solve? If you're writing a nonfiction book, presumably your book is solving a problem, but think through what other problems you can solve or what's the next problem. And then I mean, you've got expertise, Teddy, in advertising on Amazon. If you try to be all things to all people, you will sink like a rock because you're not a dead hit for any one person searching for something particular. But if you're solving a particular problem, the book can take off, and then it can even appeal to a wider audience. My first published book was called From Heartbreak to Happiness. It's an intimate diary of healing after my husband died suddenly at the age of 33. I wrote it for one person. One hypothetical person. I filtered that book. It is based on pages from my diary. And I decided, well, if I was going to die tomorrow and my hypothetical best friend's husband just died, what book would I give her as a meaningful gift that would help her along her journey from heartbreak to happiness? And that's how I edited the book. And then I was shocked that it helped people who had lost a career. It helped people whose dog had died. It helped people who were actually in the hospital on their deathbed and grappling with, their end of life issues. I didn't write it for people who'd lost a dog or lost a career or were facing death. I filtered it through the lens of that one avatar. And that made the book more specific, more unique, and more valuable to a wide range of readers.
Yeah. I think going as niche as possible, I think is really important because I think it really helps to get your message down. Now,
absolutely.
When you're talking about just now, you're talking about how some of the books, maybe they don't sell that well at first, but ideally you want that book to be selling as much as possible. So do you have a particular process that you follow when you're trying to launch the book to make as many sales as possible?
Oh yes, I have a whole book launch process that I do with my clients. So most of my clients work with me and to create their book, and then of course they usually would also like my help, with the publishing. And then I don't want to help them with the publishing unless they're also willing to put in a little money into marketing the book appropriately. So here are some steps that anybody can do. When you think your book is done, stop. Don't publish it. Test the title. Test the subtitle. Look on Amazon. You can use Publisher Rocket or Klytics are great resources. See what is selling in the categories that your book might fit in. Sometimes your book is perfectly positioned for a category that is not selling, but with a slight tweak of the content by 10%, you could hit a category that's selling like hotcakes. Well, why not take advantage of that, right? I also recommend testing the title and subtitle. I use a service called pickfu.com to do that. I'm sure there may be other services to do that. I've also gone up when I had ideal readers and I've said, do you like this title or this title? So test your title, your subtitle. Make sure it's in a category on Amazon that is selling well. Work on your keywords. And then I recommend sending the book out to beta readers and to reviewers so you can get their feedback and that you can make those last changes. Again, it's like adding the icing to the cake and putting on the candles and then lighting them. You don't want to rush the cake right out of the oven, right to the market. Why not? You put so much love and effort into it. Take a pause and make sure, is there anything else you could do to make the book even better? And test the cover image. Some books the content is so great, but the cover image is so suboptimal. I'm searching for a non-insulting word. Let's just say suboptimal.
We could say crappy.
And then work with somebody like Teddy. Like I've just got, he's just started me on his Amazon ads program, which you can get at publishingperformance.com. Fantastic. But you want to set these things up in advance. You don't want to miss the 30 days, or maybe it's 60 or 90 days, but there's a window, a honeymoon period on Amazon where Amazon gives your book a chance. Mm-hmm. You want your Amazon ads to be set up from the get-go. You want your reviews to be all organized. You've given people months to read the book, but they're ready to post their review the week it comes out. As a courtesy, you don't want to ask them to read it the week it comes out. You want to give it to them a month or two in advance so they've got time to read it, but they can post their honest review the week it comes out. You want to apply for awards. Sometimes it takes maybe 3 months or so to hear back. But if you apply in advance, you could possibly have an award-winning book the day it comes out. So these are the kinds of things I recommend that everybody does. And that's what we do at SamePage Publishing to help people publish, award-winning, best-selling books that make a difference.
Yeah, definitely. Now, one of the main parts of your book, or the bit that I found the most interesting when I was reading it, was about the speaking, because that's something that I'm personally interested in. So if you're using a book to try and do more speaking, and part of it was about being a bit more charismatic. So
yes,
that's obviously something quite difficult. I'm not shy at all about speaking on stage. I'd very happily go up and speak in front of 1,000 people. Not that I'd necessarily be very good, but I'd be very happy to do it. Whereas some people might be a bit shyer. Now, in terms of trying to be more charismatic, what advice would you give to authors who are trying to build up to do more speaking?
Well, I think there are two things to consider. One is to practice your message and your stories. Get stories ready so that you have powerful stories that illustrate your points. Research them, practice them in front of the mirror, get them down to the essence, and have them available as a go-to that's available, for you and in the moment. The second thing I'd love to encourage everybody to do is most people freeze, not like Teddy, but most people freeze when speaking in public because they have in their mind's eye, the spotlight is on them. They're thinking like, is there spinach in my teeth? Am I being coherent? Like, am I charismatic? And they're feeling self-conscious. One way to get rid of that is to be really focused on how can I serve? How can I add value? What does the listener need? What does the audience need? This is how I'm showing up in this moment. So I'm really committed to how can I deliver the most value in the least amount of time? But that's one way to be charismatic. So one of the things we always want to be considering is how can we help others? And I think, get in a habit of being a giver. One way you can be a giver is, when you read a book and you like it, take a moment and leave a starred review. Make that a habit. It takes second to leave a starred review, but only 1% of people who read a book bother to leave a review. That author has probably put 3.5 years of love and energy into that book. You've consumed it, you've gotten value. Even if you paid $30 for the book, really, the person may have put a decade of their life into it. So take a moment and leave a starred review, or even better, write one sentence about one thing from that book that stood out to you. And I think if we have a habit of showing up as somebody who's contributing to others, it will come back to us tenfold.
I love that, creating stories to try and it really brings to life the stuff that when you hear people talk on stage, when people can give examples of exactly how something's worked or exactly what they're trying to illustrate. I think it really brings it to life and it makes it much more understandable.
Exactly. And then for anyone who might be still thinking that independent publishing is for beginners, I want to point out Taylor Swift's recent success. Her best-selling book is independently published. If she had gone with a big publisher, it probably would have cost her $20 million of revenue and profit. Like, she is committed to reaching her fans her way, and she independently published. Or look at David Goggins. He independently published his books, which started with Can't Hurt Me. And his backend, from what I know, is primarily being a speaker. But he went on 1,000 podcasts, I believe, the first year that Can't Hurt Me came out. And as a result, they sold 1 million copies of his book and 600,000 copies of his audiobook. Now, if he had done that same promotion and if he had been with a publisher, in most cases, that would have cost him about $20 million because he would have given the lion's share of it away to the publisher. So I really am a big fan of independent publishing, especially if you have somebody like Teddy to work with who can help you with your Amazon ads and use AI to make that easy so you can focus on the things that you do best, writing and whatever your business is, and delegate the Amazon ads to Teddy. Then I think that unless you get a 6-figure advance, I think, in my opinion, it's hands down a no-brainer that independent publishing is the way to go. You can create an evergreen bestseller. You can improve your book. I have one of my people that I was working with. Her book came out a couple of years ago. It's won many awards, but she's improving it and adding more value to the book. So you can have the joy of doing that. It's not like the old days where you print 5,000 copies and then your book's remaindered and you're done.
Yeah.
Independent publishing gives you so many options.
I spoke to quite a few successful authors through this podcast, and I find, yeah, you're right. Self-publishing is really good at first. Then some people think, okay, I'm going to try and get published. But then as they become successful, they kind of get their own deals with publishing houses, which means they're kind of self-published, but just using the publishing houses to print their books. So but the more success you get, you almost go back to self-publishing again. So it shows it is the right path to do, because you're keeping so much more of your income, especially at first.
Exactly right. And then if you really lean into the principles in Turn Words into Wealth, if you really lean into any one of those 7 ways to make 7 figures with your book, you don't want the publisher saying, no, you can't mention that offer, or no, you can't have a link to your website, or no, you can't tell them that they can have a business breakthrough call, with you, or whatever is if you're using a book as a lead magnet, you don't want somebody else who has completely different business interests to sabotage you.
Now, one thing in the book, because one of the last chapters, it was about continuously improving your business and working with a coach to make sure that you're keeping on the right track. Do you work with a coach in your business to try and keep yourself working forward?
Oh, that's a very good question. I do not at the moment work with a coach, although I have been actively considering it. I've been reading some books of some excellent coaches, like Dan Sullivan actually is an excellent coach. He's got Strategic Coach, so he's come to mind, as well as Joe Polish. But no, I am not working with a coach at the moment, although I am a coach and I love coaching people. And I do believe that everybody can benefit from coaching, even if it's your husband or your wife or your friend, but preferably a professional helping you. Although I actually am investing in a course about dreams, which is quite interesting, with a best-selling author. Her name is Kelly Sullivan Walden. So that's kind of interesting, and she helps people activate their daytime dreams and leverage the hidden messages in their nighttime dreams. So that's fun.
Oh,
but
wow.
I think, I love the book The Talent Code by Daniel Coyle, and he points out that talent is not born, it's grown, and one of the 3 ways of growing your talent is to have a coach. The other 2 ways is you got to know what you want, and really activate the ignition of desire for what do you want. And then the second thing is deep practice. So deep practice means working at the edge of your capacity, whether you're playing tennis or you're writing a book or you're a public speaker. Like, push yourself to be right at the edge. Don't throw yourself in the deep end, and then working with a coach or mentor. And the thing that stood out to me from reading The Talent Code, which I've mentioned in my book, Turn Words into Wealth, is you can actually, at any age, build more myelin, and you can increase the speed that your brain responds, or that your physical body responds, from 2 miles an hour to 200 miles an hour. So we can not only 10x, but we can potentially 100x our capability, which is amazing and inspiring.
What does working with you look like if you were a coach?
So what working with me looks like, people usually read the book Turn Words into Wealth, which again, they can get for free at turnwordsintowealth.com. Then they sign up for a business breakthrough call at bookcall.biz. And then I usually work with people for just 1 month to do basically a mini market feasibility study. So I look at their business, I look at their offers, I look at what they'd like to achieve with their book, and I make sure that it has a high probability of delivering a 10 times return on their investment. And then if it doesn't, then they've just invested for 1 month, and then they can go, I need to go back to the drawing board and think of a completely different book idea. And often they work with me to do that. And then usually people will continue to work with me one-on-one. And what happens is, I call it the spoken author method. Most people can speak with ease about their topic that they're passionate about, or their life experience, or their expertise. And we do podcast-like episodes. So first we structure the book. Maybe we say there's 10 chapters in this book. This is the problem this book solves. This is the ideal reader. This is what the back end looks like, and how this book can make 7 figures or more for this person. And then I would interview them for each chapter. So they get maybe an hour of content. And most people can talk easily 8,000 words an hour, but most people cannot write 8,000 words in a week.
Yeah.
especially first-time authors. So it just makes it fast and fun. And then my team and I take the transcript from that 1 hour and we polish it up and turn it into a book. But the really cool thing that I really love about the spoken author method is people, either my team or they can take that 1 hour content and slice and dice it into short social media posts. So before the book comes out, they start having hundreds of pieces or thousands of pieces of social media content showing their passion, showing their expertise, revealing their stories, creating buzz about their book, and even filling their business before the book comes out, because the book is only part of their whole business. You don't have to wait for the book to be published to start attracting your ideal clients, for example, people over 40 who need a dentist. And then we work to polish up the book, make it all just so. And then we take a pause, the one I recommended, we double check the title, we double check the subtitle, we double check that the cover image is good, we double check that there are invitations for the person to go to their website or hire them as a speaker or hire them as a coach or consultant or come and have their teeth cleaned or whatever their thing is. And then I usually recommend a 3-month period between when the author says, book is done, it's perfect, and the publication date. We can even more double down on getting the buzz, getting the promotion, setting up the reviews, setting up the ads, applying for book awards, and then the book's published. And then what usually happens is they love it so much they want to write another book, and we start on another book. So, for example, one of my clients, this is his first book, Confessions of an Accidental Lawyer by Michael Stockham. And now his second book just came out. It's called Jake Fox Ties That Blind. It's another legal thriller. And we're working on 8 more legal thrillers because he loved it so much. Oh, he's actually an example of somebody who completely changed the idea for his book after our first month working together. He initially thought that he would call the book something like The Mirthless Troll. Because he wanted to write, at that time he thought, oh, I'll write a nonfiction book warning other lawyers about how miserable it is to be a lawyer. And then after I spoke to him and I realized, oh my gosh, this guy's got so many interesting stories. He's a litigation attorney. You know, he's right in the courtroom. Like, he's got all the stories from court and from, visiting clients in jail. And I'm like, these are amazing stories. And he was like, oh yeah, let's write a legal thriller instead. So
yeah.
So it's a pivot.
That's interesting. He's using fiction as his sort of lead magnet in the first place, or at least
he's using fiction. Exactly right. In fact, you might want to interview him, Michael Stockham. He's very poised and passionate public speaker, as you could imagine from somebody who's a litigation attorney. So we're actually using his books as a way to boost his appeal as a public speaker. Even if he's speaking at a legal conference, how many other lawyers have books that are best-selling books? His first book won 10 awards, including be a finalist in American Fiction Awards. And so that makes him much more interesting as a public speaker. And now he's going on podcasts, either talking about, the path of becoming a best-selling author and inspiring other creators and authors, or also talking about his expertise as a rainmaker and as a litigation attorney. So he can talk about what to do when the value of your stock plummets and the IRS is calling and, I don't know, you're threatened with a lawsuit. What do you do? So he can talk about that. So he's using his 15 minutes of fame, shall we say. I wouldn't say he's super famous, but he's a lot more famous than other litigation attorneys to become known as a rainmaker, as a litigation attorney. And then he's also offering value to other people who might want to become a best-selling author, especially of thrillers.
Oh, brilliant. I'll have to try and speak to him. He sounds really interesting.
He is really interesting. Yeah, I'll connect you to Teddy.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that'd be really good. Well, it's been great chatting to you. I've loved hearing, I really enjoyed your book. I loved reading about building your book as a way of building your business wider. I think it's a really good strategy for people to follow, especially if you are working in services. It's like a no-brainer to get your stuff that you already know loads about, turn it into a book, to turn yourself into a bit more of a known person in your industry. I think it's absolutely no-brainer, and your strategy makes perfect sense. So I'd really encourage everyone to go to Turn Words into Wisdom website so that you can get a copy of that free ebook, and then turnwordsintowealth.com and get the book get the paperback as well. I've got a paperback version. which I really like.
It's nice to have the paperback. You can.
Well, I like writing, especially non-fiction books. I like writing them down. So
exactly right.
So if people want to get in touch with you, let's just go through where to get in touch with you again.
So if people would like to get in touch with me, they can go to SamePagePublishing.com and they can see some people that I've helped and get the flavor of what I do at SamePage Publishing, or they can go to my website, AuroraWinter.com, AuroraWinter.com. And then after they've read Turn Words into Wealth, if they think, oh, I'm the kind of person that Aurora helps, I only help entrepreneurs, experts, leaders, and business owners because I'm really committed that my services will generate a 10x return on investment. So I love to help people who already have a business or an idea for a business or already earning already 6 figures or 7 figures, because I can easily help them. Whereas to be honest, I wouldn't be the best resource if you're working on a poetry book or you're working on a memoir and it's just a one-off and you don't have a business to go with it. You can get help from many other people for those projects, which I recommend you do, but I would be the resource for you if you're a strategic business person or leader looking to 10x your results.
Great. That's really good. Well, thank you very much for coming on to the show, Aurora. It's been great chatting to you, and we'll speak again soon.
Sounds good, Teddy. Thanks.
Thank you so much for tuning into the Publishing Performance Podcast. I really hope you found today's episode inspiring. I love chatting to authors, writers, and people in the publishing world. Now, just before we wrap up, let me tell you about Publishing Performance, the #1 platform for authors who want to increase Amazon book sales, but are not really sure where to start. Now, this show is all about helping you to sell more books. And if you're looking to boost your publishing game and to maximize your book's potential on Amazon, then Publishing Performance is designed to help authors just like you to grow your readership and to reach a much wider audience. Now, I know that Amazon ads can be slightly complicated, which is why Publishing Performance is like having a personalized ad account manager to create your ad campaigns, to choose your best keywords, and to make adjustments in real time. Now, if you're investing in ads, you really want to make sure that your investment is being used effectively, and Publishing Performance does just that. It aims to make your budget go further, improve your organic rank, and target keywords more effectively. Just go to publishingperformance.com to get started with Amazon ads for just $1. Thank you so much for tuning into the Publishing Performance Podcast. I really hope you found today's episode inspiring. I love chatting to authors, writers, and people in the publishing world. Now, just before we wrap up, let me tell you about Publishing Performance, the #1 platform for authors who want to increase Amazon book sales, but are not really sure where to start. Now, this show is all about helping you to sell more books. And if you're looking to boost your publishing game and to maximize your book's potential on Amazon, then Publishing Performance is designed to help authors just like you to grow your readership and to reach a much wider audience. Now, I know that Amazon ads can be slightly complicated, which is why Publishing Performance is like having a personalized ad account manager to create your ad campaigns, to choose your best keywords, and to make adjustments in real time. Now, if you're investing in ads, you really want to make sure that your investment is being used effectively, and Publishing Performance does just that. It aims to make your budget go further, improve your organic rank, and target keywords more effectively. Just go to publishingperformance.com to get started with Amazon ads for just $1.